Hello, this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts with the Visible Image Artist Trading Card Swap for November 2024, and the topic this month is black and white. I have created a black and white ATC and card before, and I think it was actually at the beginning of the year. It will be in my playlist because one month we were allowed to choose from a few different themes, and I chose monochromatic and I turned that into a black and white one. So I had to think what I can create that is not repetitive of that. And I knew initially I wanted to use this new stencil I bought. It's the Count Me In stencil. I saw Mark from Visible Image use this one in a recent live, so I've got this one plus two other stencils because there was an offer on as well at a weekend. And I would like to create my own structure paste to use through this stencil. I haven't never done that before, but I've seen it done, so I thought I'd just give it a try. Can't go wrong with that. I have got an old cream pot here. I've already got some white acrylic paint in here. I used that for a project the other week. I didn't want to waste it, so I just left it in there. And I thought, well, I might just as well use that in the structure paste because I want it to be white. I don't want it to be clear. And I've got some Mod Podge gloss luster in here, which is basically a glue, and any glue will do, just a PVA glue. This is the first one I grabbed. I do not suggest a clear, like a solvent based glue. I would not suggest a tacky glue. You want this a little bit too tacky, but you want this to dry. You don't want it to dry tacky. So I'm just eyeballing this. Let me just take that much out. I'd say, let me just lift that up for you. I'd say that's about 2 tablespoons, 2 heaped tablespoons full. I don't want to make too much of the paste either because I don't know how well it keeps in this container. So I've got a plastic spatula here. I think I got these from the Works really cheaply. So, and to make the actual paste, I've got this talcum powder here. I've kept that for years and years for the very event that I'm going to make my own structure paste. So I'm just going to pop that in here, and this is why I've got the camera so high, because I know this will create a little bit of dust. So this takes a bit longer than intended. I don't know if there's a way of me opening this a little bit more. So I try to fill in the same amount as I have of glue of this talcum powder. I will quickly do this off camera. So that took me about another 30 seconds. So, and I will now stir this gently, trying not to get anything overboard. Like I have now. That's why I've got the piece of paper underneath. And I can already see that I will definitely need some more talcum powder. You want this to be like a thick, like a cream cheese. I start stirring this thoroughly because I want to stir the glue, the paint in as well thoroughly, which obviously is difficult to tell whether I've mixed it in because the glue is white as well. So I think I need another sort of 2 tablespoons full of powder. I've zoomed in a little bit to show you the consistency. I'm happy with this now. So I think I have about 2.5 tablespoons full of powder. Just add the powder gradually, but I do suggest you just start with 1 tablespoon of glue, because unless you know you use a lot, because I needed a lot of powder. I've got plenty of powder. I'm not bothered about this. By the way, I think you can substitute this powder with baking soda, maybe even with corn flour, but I'm not sure. The positive side of having the talcum powder, obviously, it smells nicely. And I don't know how long this will keep, but I think before I seal this up, I will put some cling film over the top just to make sure it doesn't dry out. But this is the consistency now, so have a play with yours and see how you like it. I've never owned any structure paste, so I don't know what consistency it's supposed to have, but this seems to be nice for me. So I've got a piece of black cardstock here. Just spotted that this is actually got blemishes on it. Oh no, I think this got a bit of the baking powder, so let me turn that over. Oh, and I think I might have to clean my hands. The t-shirt will have to suffer because I don't want any black marks on that really. So I'm just going in with it. I want a little piece obviously for the artist trading card, and the rest I will just use for the card that I'm sending it in. So I'm just picking this up with a spatula and just start applying this, trying to keep my spatula flat. Oh, and I've already shifted it a little bit. Let me just see whether that is a mess now and I need to start again. No, it's actually okay. So I should have taped the stencil down, I think. Said I've got no real experience with pastes. You can, if you wanted to, put some spray adhesive, you know, movable adhesive on the back of the stencil. I didn't want to do that because I'm sure it will show up on this black cardstock. I think it's better on the white cardstock. And I'm just contemplating whether I want a little bit of a grungy look and not fill it everywhere. But I've started now. I might actually just do that and just go a bit randomly in the middle and then try to fade it out a little bit. It's very smooth, the paste. I like it. I hope it'll work and hope it will dry a bit white. So I think that is enough, but I want to spread it out the other way, I think, just to get the other angle of these numbers as well. But then that just created these lines that I don't like, so I need to smooth them out. And I already know that this cardstock warps. It's a 220 GSM, but I will have to put some cardstock in the back to get this straight. So I'm lifting this up now, hoping it has worked. Yep, I like that. I've got a few blemishes there, but that doesn't matter. I will put something over the top anyway. So I will seal this off. This will go immediately in the wash because I don't want the glue to dry on this. And I'm leaving this to dry for as long as the glue needs to dry. I'll find out and let you know afterwards. It's about 3 hours later and the paste has actually almost dried. It's just still a bit cool to the touch, so I think I will leave it a little bit longer, but I like the look of that. I've got a few specks probably where I haven't stirred properly, but I like the look of that. It's a little bit see-through, and as I said before, there are these blemishes where I hadn't put down the paste properly, but I think you get that with commercial paste as well, so that worked okay. And I also have little specks here, but I like the look of it, and always with visible image, it's a grungy look anyway, so this I think will be fine to work with. So in the meantime, I have stamped and heat embossed 2 of these little robots. This is from the, let me just get that over here, from the Robot Data stamp set, and I've also got the dies. Unfortunately, the dies are only for the robots. I would love to have it for that sentiment here, but never mind. So as I said, I stamped and heat embossed it, but I did it 2 different ways, and I want to show you the difference. This one here, I've done it the sort of traditional way, as in using my Versamark embossing ink and then using black embossing powder. And this one here, I've stamped with my VersaFine Onyx Black and used my clear embossing powder, and they are both fine powders, but in comparison, I know the daylight's not great today, you always get more detail with this one here. And the advantage of having clear embossing powder is as well, you can use any ink colour to stamp with, so you don't really need loads of different coloured embossing powders, because you can always put just the clear on top. I will use them both. I will use the slightly better one, the more defined one, for my ATC, and this one will go on the card front, but especially around the legs. I get more detail around the buttons, so if you've got very detailed stamps, it's worth doing this. And I also decided today I'm going to dispose of my black embossing powder. Sometimes, although this is a new one, if you overheat it, you can get like a matte finish, so I think I'll let go of that unless I can think of a project where I will just use it all up. I might do that. I'm just thinking whether I should do another round of creating a background, maybe with a black. I'll have a think about that. But yeah, so that's what I've done in the meantime. I was tempted and thought about colouring these in until I remembered, no, the topic is black and white, so I will have to resist. So as I said, I will leave this to dry. I'll have a little think whether I will create a black on white background. I might just go for it because I just had the idea. I've brought my stencil back out. I made sure it's dry because I didn't want this to leave any water on the cardstock and then for the embossing powder to adhere on it. This time I've stuck it down a little bit with some removable adhesive. I've chosen a similar weight cardstock to the black one because if I want to put them next to each other, I don't want one to be thicker really. And then I have, rather than going straight with my stamp pad onto the stencil, I've used the refill here of the Versamark. I've put a little bit on my tile. I've got a makeup sponge here, and now I can just dip into that and just apply the ink like this. I hope I've got enough on there. I hope this doesn't absorb it too much. I haven't got a clue really how much I need, but then again, I never use or hardly ever use this refill, so I might just as well be generous, because these supplies, they don't keep forever really. I can just about see the cardstock turning a little bit grey where I've applied it. You could probably have the same effect just with some liquid glue. You just want something that holds the embossing powder in place. You could probably even use some ink like the VersaFine Clair. So I think this is done. There's definitely more glue at the top where I started off, and I will give this a rinse later so that I can reuse that. So now I can peel that off. Let me get that out of the way. Yeah, it's quite patchy. You see I've got some hints of blue and pink in there. So I've already opened this one, and I'm hoping that I can just, no, I'll have to pour it because it's a big piece. As I said before, I'm not fussed about this. I will dispose of it afterwards anyway, so I might just as well pour it all over, because I've had quite a few projects ruined now by this embossing powder. Well, not ruined, but it didn't go to plan. So see, that's not even properly covered, doesn't matter. Yeah, I probably didn't even apply the embossing powder, sorry, the embossing ink properly, but it doesn't matter. I leave it at this. I will heat set this from the bottom. I did that with the robots as well, because then this doesn't spray around too much. And as I said, I will dispose of that and as from now on we'll only use the clear embossing powder. I've put on the light a little bit so that the camera hopefully picks this up. This is what I meant with you don't really get a good finish with this. This is all speckled. First of all, I thought I had heat set it from the back everywhere and I missed a few areas. But as soon as I come in from the front, it sort of blows away and I get these sort of, coarse patches. And even the finish, the one at the top is not too bad, but at the bottom here it's very uneven. So, and I think this one actually I need to do again. You see it's still matte. I thought I had done it, but then the lighting in the craft room at the moment is rubbish. So I will do this off camera. There are areas that I can use. I'm not too happy about this, but that doesn't matter because we've got the other part, the white on black one, to work with. So I'll have a think how I can combine these two pieces. I've got a good idea, but yeah, I'll leave this other one to dry for the time being. It is a few hours later. The paste has definitely dried now, and I have cut basically two ATCs or ATCs size pieces, one from this panel and one from the black panel here. And I've cut them into half because my original thought was, and this is what I would always do, is to cut the little robot and stick it on the top. But the joy of having this means you can actually cut into this piece and have this as a foreground rather than a background. And I thought it would be nice to mix and match these two pieces. And I've chosen the ones where I've got the wide gap here where I didn't cover it properly. I didn't bother about matching these as in having the stencil continuously because on the black panel the right hand side was nicer, on the white panel the left hand side. So I would stick these together in the back with some clear tape and die cut the little robot just from these two pieces. I've got scraps over. I will use these I think for the front of the card, but for the ATC I will do this. And the other thing I will do is I want to raise this foreground up a little bit to have the full effect. And I've got some black craft foam here. I will not cut this to size before I do the die cutting because this will expand, and I also don't want to have the problem of having to align this properly. So I will cut this again in the middle, and then after I've die cut from here, I will try to align, or will align the hole then, the aperture then, and then cut off the excess. I think just with my scissors, maybe with a guillotine. The important thing about cutting from craft foam is you should never put it through the die cutting machine more than once. So don't go forth and back, only do it once, because then you have the least distortion of the whole foam and it doesn't flatten too much. I will do this off camera again. I think these, I just said I will put them together with some tape, so just some normal clear film, some sellotape. These are actually a different thickness now because this obviously has quite a thick layer of paste, but it doesn't matter really. I'm not quite sure. I might actually do a trial on how this works in the die cutting machine, whether this will crack, but I think it feels fairly flexible still. So I will just do that with a little bit of the scrap, just give it a trial run. If it doesn't work, I'll come back and give you some ideas. I might have to put like a protective layer on the top. I'll see. The die cutting machine was no issue for the paste. It is actually quite flexible. I'm really pleased with this. So that worked fine. That was just on the scrap. So I've die cut from this. The only issue I had was with actually the clear tape. That didn't want to cut that well. And also where this little triangles here at the bottom, basically these came off. So when I glue these down onto the foam, I'll have to put these back. I am using the Cosmic Shimmer glue for that. Let me just find my other bottle because I'm sure this one's still clogged. So I have die cut, as I said, from the foam as well, and I'm just going to put the glue on the back here. I don't know if this is the best glue, but I'm sure it's suitable for foam. I'm not so sure about things like collal, because there are some solvent based glues that can actually dissolve the foam, so I think this one will be best. I'm making sure I've got glue everywhere on the smaller bits. Going up to the corner there. I think that should be fine. So I can just line this up here now. Shift if I needed to. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not bothering about anything oozing out in the back. Sorry, on the outside, because that'll be cut off anyway. And then here you might be able to see this is where I need to stick this little piece onto. So just popping a little bit of glue here. It's probably too much already. Just getting my pickup tool here. Hoping I can pick it up. Yep. Tell you what, now I need to take a little bit off there. That's too much. And then I can place this down. Yeah, still got quite a bit of it oozing out. So, and I'm doing the same with the other piece. I'm leaving this to dry, making sure it doesn't roll up. I can even put an acrylic block on this or something heavy like a tile, and I'm leaving that to dry thoroughly before I create the background. Well, I got a bit carried away in the meantime. Reason being is I had this piece that I had cut out of one of these ATCs here. I couldn't save the second one because I had to cut the feet off to peel off the feet here properly. But because I had a bit of white here where I hadn't heat embossed properly, I thought I can just stamp on that, and I used this stamp here at the bottom. And that is okay where I stamped just on the cardstock. And I blotted it off where the heat embossing is. I knew well that this wouldn't take on. But then I thought, oh, might it not be nice if I stamped on the paste as well? And I blotted that, and I blotted that, and I'm still blotting because obviously it doesn't dry. It's got acrylic paint in it that won't hold the ink, and it's got the glue in it that won't hold the ink. I should have known better. I have got an idea how to rescue that. It might go terribly wrong, but I'm giving it a try with at least one of these pieces. Oh, by the way, if you do stamp on an area that's got a lot of heat embossing, make sure you really just set down the stamp properly. I slipped here a little bit, and I've got a bit of a, well, slipped image there. Not that it really matters. So I'm going to start with this one here, and I'm going to dip this into my clear embossing powder, because my idea is to heat set the clear embossing powder on the top here, hopefully not harming this embossing powder and hopefully not bubbling the glue. If it goes wrong, I've still got the other piece, and then I'll probably have to wait 2 days for it to dry, but I'll give it a try. I never mind showing these things in my videos. Sometimes things do go wrong, and that's okay. Sometimes it's the fun of it. So I can see where I still had some residue ink on the black areas. That has taken on the clear embossing powder as well. I'm not too bothered about that, as long as I said, I don't need to or don't melt the black embossing powder. But this is all matte now, which shows me that the clear embossing powder is stuck on there. So I will quickly heat set this off camera. This time I have to go in from the top because obviously I can't get any heat through the foam. And the other thing is I will have to start on a slow, on the lower heat setting, just so it won't blow away. anyway, I'll tell you afterwards how it's gone. So I think that worked okay. That's why I did the second one straight away as well. I did have the foam curl up quite a bit because I was lingering here too long, and you can see from the back the foam was a little bit distorted, but I think it doesn't matter too much. So I've just got another piece of scrap paper here, and I can just do a test here, and no residue. So that definitely worked. Not advisable, but definitely a little solution to that problem there. So all I need to do now is, I'll show you another thing I quickly did off camera before. I just cut the remaining pieces of both backgrounds, just really randomly out, and just stuck them on this 6x6 card. Just looking, it's a bit warped on the inside from the glue, but I think this is fine. So all I need to do now is to use my scissors. I'm not using my guillotine, just cut around the ATCs. Yeah, and then I will arrange this here on the front. Oh yeah, obviously I need to put these behind. If I'd planned ahead, I would have cut a bigger background, but I thought I would cut these out and stick them onto the card. So I'll have to have a look if these are actually big enough to sit behind the card. So it was really easy to cut around here, and I've just noticed my panels are actually big enough. So I will glue these down now, and again just cut along just with my scissors, and then that will be fine. By the way, from the die there is a little piece that cuts out here, the bit under the arm. I just disposed of that. I think it's not needed to insert that there. So yeah, and once I've glued these down, I will put one obviously here on the front, and then my card and my ATC are finished. So my ATC is finished, or should I say my two ATCs. My original plan was for this to sit on front of the card. It did get a little bit lost though, although it's got dimension, so I even cut a little panel, so that's a little tip to sit here. But then I remembered this year I have already lost two ATCs in the post, and we're even only talking in the UK. So I thought, you know what, I've created two ATCs, I will keep this one back. If this one gets lost, at least I've got an ATC to swap if I might not make another card to go with that, or I will have a different theme on that card, but I will actually keep this one. So, which leaves me with this little piece to decorate the card. I put the foam that came from the aperture, I put that behind there, but again this one does get a little bit lost. So I've just cut one more here out of white cardstock, a very thin white cardstock, and I will just offset it a little bit, and then it can sit on the front. It's still slightly hidden, but I like the look of that. By the way, I put a little stamps here, the beep around the outside, because I try to fill in the gaps there. Yeah, and I think I'm just happy with a plain card like this. I was thinking, because postage is horrendous, whether I should just place this here, have this sitting on the front, maybe not even gluing it down, because then the card will be flattish, I should say. If I have this here and this goes on top, that would just cost a fortune in postage. So I might even do that in the end. But that's, yeah, I'll decide that at a later date, I think. So yeah, but I'm quite pleased. Bit of a disaster with that. Not what I had originally planned, but yeah, I think these are really great, and I love the cute stamp, I really do. And I love working with a stencil. As I said before, I've never worked with stencil paste before, and yeah, really enjoyable. And I hope my recipient will like this card and the ATC too. Yeah, and if you do like these as well, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.